culinary appliances, obviously, but also in like skincare and beauty. So we're gonna see. I had look all the ideas flowing for this product and so much more. So hey everyone, welcome back. In this video, we're going to be taking that fresh mint that I harvested a few weeks ago and we're going to be preserving it because everyone knows that fresh herbs and vegetables don't last long in the refrigerator. So, after looking into it a little bit, I found that there are a couple ways that we can do this. And I decided since I had such a large crop that I would take half of it and preserve it one way via dehydrating. The other half I went ahead and put in the freezer so that I can use it at another time. All right. So the first step in this process is actually removing the leaves from the stem. Now, I will say this part is optional from what I've read and what different people have tried. You can dehydrate the herb with the leaves on the stem. I, however, chose to remove them because I really wanted to take care to pay attention to the quality of the leaves. So I actually had these herbs in the refrigerator for probably about 2 or 3 days before I did this process. So some of them were starting to turn a little darkish brown, and I wanted to make sure I removed all of the dead leaves before I went ahead and started dehydrating. Important thing I wanted to note here is really I took care to take my time. I really didn't want to tear any leaves, and it was also really important to me to get every last healthy leaf. Here we are, we have the full crop after I finish pulling the leaves from the first half of the bunch. And now I'm just taking the stems and I decided to place them back in the bag and keep them because, again, we're not wasting anything. I figure I could use them at the very least for compost or something of that nature. All right, now that we have removed all of our leaves, the next step is to arrange the leaves on the dehydrating rack. Now, this dehydrating rack I actually got off of Amazon. I bought it separately from my Ninja as an accessory, and I love it. I've used it a couple of times to dehydrate things like ginger and lemon. This is actually my first time dehydrating herbs. And so, what I wanted to do, I actually took a look at the instructions first is it does suggest whenever you're dehydrating really anything that you take care to make sure whatever you're laying on the racks is laid flat and has as much space as possible. Now, as you can see, I'm clearly not adhering to that rule. I had a lot of herbs and I really just wanted to fit them all in one shot. So I just decided to spread them out evenly amongst each of the 5 racks. Now, you'll see at the end of this why that's not recommended. I kind of figured. So continuing to spread the herbs out on the rack to my best of my ability. They obviously are overlaying. But yeah, like I said, it was necessary, and we were able to fit the entire 36 grams on this rack for the first shot. And that's really all that mattered. To my ladies out there who know what it's like to try to bring every single grocery bag in on the first trip, that's what we were doing. This is the first trip, and this was the only trip. So, mission accomplished. So one important thing to note, you'll see here that I'm actually flipping through the manual that comes with my Ninja Foodie. You really want to make sure that you pay attention to whatever temperature settings or time settings that your manual provides you. This is meant to give you guidance. And as you can see here, I kind of paused because I quickly realized that there's no guidance for dehydrating herbs. So I had to really go with my research here, and online, what I kept continuously seeing was the best way to dehydrate herbs at a low temperature and to do it over a period of time. So I ended up setting my dehydrator to 105. And you'll see here as I'm kind of getting it set up here, I decided to go with a starting time frame of about 3 hours. When I searched online, there were different ranges. And obviously, the time range that you use is based off of temperature. But a lot of what I read and the feedback that I got just from looking into it is you just want to keep a good watch on it because herbs are very delicate and they can very quickly burn. So I was trying to be cautious here. I did not want to burn the herbs because you can't go back once you burn them. And so I decided to stick with the 105 as a temperature, and I started with a 3-hour time frame so that I can stop and check on progress from there. As you can clearly see here, the 2 hours that I set it to was not quite enough. You can still see kind of some of the bright green leaves there. I put it back in, I kept the same temperature, and about 3+ hours later, I had to go back a couple of times. We finally had dehydrated herbs. Now, here's where I'll say the purpose of laying your herbs or whatever you're placing in here flat is so that they don't overlap, because the overlap is what causes your dehydration to not be consistent. And so I'm kind of feeling through here. I could notice just by looking at it that there were some leaves that were not fully dehydrated. And you'll know that they're fully dehydrated because they will kind of have that swishing sound when you move your fingers through it. And you can tell that they'll almost want to break to the touch. So I could see that on each rack, I would say about 95% of them were fully dehydrated. There was maybe 3 or so leaves that weren't. I wasn't really concerned, and I definitely wasn't going to go back at this time because this is actually the next day. And I was like, look, we got majority lesson learned. I'll do it the right way next time. But yeah, I will say it was successful, and there is reason for why they do tell you to lay them flat and to make sure nothing overlaps. It makes a difference in your overall output of what you get at the end. All right, now for our final step in the process, because I'm going to be using these in other recipes and other different type of projects I'm working on, I really wanted to grind these down into a dried mint leaf. So just like you can purchase this in the store, this is basically us making it at home from our garden. So I have this is like a coffee spice grinder that I use for that purpose, and I'm just throwing the dried leaves in here. Again, I took out any leaves that were not fully dehydrated because they will not break down properly. And I just kept the ones that were fully brittle and were almost crisp to the touch. So kind of squishing them down in here again, one and done. This is what we like to do. And I gave it, this is one of those ones that you press down and it causes it to activate. So there I am just grinding the mint leaves up, and this gave me a pretty coarse chop. You really don't need very long. I wanted to get it a little bit finer because I noticed there were some bigger chunks. And honestly, some of those chunks might have been bits of not fully dehydrated mint leaves, but I wasn't completely concerned because, as you'll see here, the texture overall turned out really, really nice. It's almost like a medium to small granular mint powder, which I'm really looking forward to experimenting in. So this served the purpose. I learned a lot, and we're going to stay tuned for the next thing. You guys, so we decided, final product, to take that mint, let me show you that first, to take that mint that we ground up and to turn it into an infused oil. So I have been thinking about doing this for a while. This is actually my second one, but this is coconut oil, as you can see on the label here, infused with mint. And what's beautiful is that I did an overnight infusion in a slow cooker, so overnight on low for about 12 hours. Use this cold pressed unrefined coconut oil that I got at wholesale, and I just let it go low and slow. Look, just like you would a good pulled pork, something like that, that nature. So look at this gorgeous color. I'm gonna actually show you. It smells amazing. Coconut oil, in my opinion, already has a really great smell, but as you can see, it gives it like this tint. It almost looks like olive oil. So obviously very important that I have this label, but when you go and smell it, it still has that warm, nutty, even smell of coconut oil with a hint of the fresh mint. So I'm excited about using this. And let me know if you'd like me to do a video on how I made this oil. I'm definitely going to be trying out and making a whole bunch more. I have a ton of different other herbs and things that I want to experiment with, and I'm actually about to start sowing some seeds for some as well for the spring. So a lot of fun things in the kitchen and the garden.